Hello and welcome once again to my YouTube channel. I'm super excited, to be doing this tutorial today. Today, I'm going to be showing you guys how to achieve a shirred dress. Okay, so shirring is the same thing as smoking, so there's no confusion there. And it's going to be a skater dress. So this dress is definitely divided into two parts, the upper part and the lower part. The upper part is the bodice. That is where our concentration is going to be on. And then the lower part is the circle skirt. For those of you that do not know how to achieve a circle skirt, there's a tutorial on this channel, so do not worry. And it's super beginners friendly. I use the freehand method, not pattern drafting, and I'm sure it will be easy for you guys to understand. So I'm going to leave the link at the description box, and I'm also going to have it somewhere so you can click it and go through that tutorial so that you don't get confused. In this video, we're going to concentrate on the upper part, which is the bodice. And basically, it is so beginners friendly. In fact, shirring is one of the things that I loved doing, when I started sewing. So this is just to tell you how easy it is. I loved it because it's like, once you create it, whether you add or you lose weight, it doesn't matter. It just always fits, and I want to say that you don't need zippers for this. Also, you don't need a particular sewing machine. For some people, they say you need this particular sewing machine, or you need any sewing machine you have is fine. I'm going to show you how to just set your sewing machine and achieve this. You also need an elastic thread for this tutorial to make it possible. Okay, so elastic thread is what you use to achieve this. All right, so definitely I'm so excited to create this, and I'm sure you definitely are. If you're stopping on my channel for the first time, you're definitely welcome. And I want you to consider subscribing if you haven't subscribed yet. If you're old and you've been following my videos and then you haven't subscribed, why haven't you subscribed? Please subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to thumbs up the video if you actually enjoyed it, and then share with others so that they can learn a thing or two from this tutorial as well. So if you're ready, without much ado, let's go right into it. Okay, so we're going to start off by cutting the bodice. And I've actually folded my fabric already. So what you need to do is to measure from the nape of your shoulder down to the half length measurement. That means from your shoulder to wherever you want the bodice to stop before you add the skirts. Okay, it would be ideal to measure from your shoulder to your waistline for this particular dress, but definitely this dress is going to have a certain sleeve, so the sleeve is not one piece. So you have to measure from your shoulder to your upper bust line, wherever you want, how low you want the neckline to be, where you want the neckline to start from. So mine is going to be 5 inches. So you're going to take out that 5 inches from whatever measurement you've measured before. So that's what we're going to have there. So I'm just going to leave out the 5 inches like so. Okay, and then I'm going to measure the rest down. So I'm actually measuring 4 inches at the top because I need 1 inch for my sewing allowance, and then I want to measure 22, but I've added 1 inch to make it 23 for my seam allowance as well. So I've just marked that. Okay, just to be sure that the measurement is correct, and you can see. Okay, so I've actually marked that there. Now for the width is your bust measurement divided by 4. So your bust circumference, whatever it is going to be divided by 4, because the front part is going to be half and the back part is going to be half. And then we're working on a fold, because this is the front part we're working on, and it has actually been folded into 2. So you have to divide that front part into 2 as well. So that's why we are dividing the measurement into 4. I don't know if you understand that, but if you're confused, you have to go back to the beginners tutorial that we have on how to draft the basic bodice pattern to make you understand. Okay, so my measurements, or what I'm going to be using, is actually 40 inches for the bust, and dividing by 4 is going to give us 10 inches. Now I'm going to add half of that measurement to this, because it is shirring. We're doing shirring, so the fabric has to be pulled together. So I'm going to add half of that. Remember that we're working with a fabric that is not lightweight. This is Ankara fabric and a little bit heavy, so you don't have to add too much allowance. If you double the measurements, it's going to be difficult for it to come together. So half of it is definitely okay. So instead of using 10 inches, I'm going to be using 15 inches, and I'm just going to add 1 more inch for my seam allowance, which is going to give us 16 inches. Okay, so if you're working with silk or something that is light, you can actually double the measurement, but with this, please do not add too much allowance. Okay, so I've actually measured that already. Now for the armhole, we're also going to mark 4 inches like so, and we're going to so I'm not going to go too much into that. So if you're cutting a full circle, this is how you're going to fold. You fold into 2 and then fold it again, and then you just have to add the rest. But then if you're cutting a half circle, this is how you're going to fold. For this tutorial, I'm going to fold this way because a half circle will be very, very ideal for this. And then for the waistline, we're going to use the bust measurements for the waistline, because if you cut it exactly the waist measurements, it's going to be too small because of the you won't be able to wear it because there's no zipper. So we're going to use the largest measurements for this. So we're going to be using the bust measurement for the circumference of the circle that we're going to be cutting out, not the waist measurement, and that's going to be 10 inches. Okay, right now I'm at the sewing machine, and this is what we're going to be using for this tutorial. We're going to be using an elastic thread, and if you don't know what an elastic thread looks like, or this is what an elastic thread looks like, we're going to be winding this elastic thread on the bobbin. Now you can do that by hand if you feel uncomfortable doing that with your sewing machine, but trust me, all sewing machines I've used for this actually works out well. I mean, some people said you need to use a particular sewing machine, but I'm using my industrial sewing machine for this, and it works out pretty well. So you can use your hand to, that's what the bobbin looks like. You can use your hand to wind it, or you can actually use a sewing machine. For me, I'm going to use the sewing machine because it makes it faster. Just a quick tip, if you're making this style, I would advise that you get like 3 or 4 bobbin, and you actually wind them and just keep them aside, because you're going to be using a lot of these. Like, it's going to finish so quickly and you need to replace it, and you might not want to stop halfway.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Gonna learn the consequence of being incompetent. Mental health is confidence, dreams and some modestness. I'm not here to save the day, that's for you to take away. I could play a million mind games, but instead I say something not illogical, something that is topical. Rub it on and watch it go, make yourself unstoppable. Dreams are irresponsible, but they're always possible. If you just believe, you could be so remarkable.
Thoughts in my head, a collage and they spread. I'll be great one day, going off of my meds. No I'm not giving up, no I'm not giving in. I will make it to the top, taking off in the wind. I gotta make it, I'm saving every day to taste it. I'm patient, but my mind, it can hardly take it. I'm chasing a dream that I've had for several ages. A vacant, modern kingdom for the taking.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
And it's properly fixed into the sewing machine. So now I'm just going to go ahead to give stitch. So your right side is going to be facing you at this point, and you just go ahead to top stitch. So I'm going to stitch very close to the initial hemming stitch that I have already. It's going to appear as if the elastic is not like doing anything, so don't worry, just go ahead and continue to stitch about 1/2 inch apart. So I'm not going to be cutting my thread and starting all over again. I'm just going to flip it around and continue just like I'm doing now. It will make it faster, and it's going to also help you not to waste a lot of thread. Or I hope you get what I mean. So I'm just going to go ahead to continue 1/2 inch apart, and I'm just eyeballing it because I'm not measuring, like, you know, the distance between the first stitch and the second stitch. And you will discover as you go along stitching that it becomes more elasticated. You remember this is Ankara. This fabric is actually made and it has some wax, so it's kind of stiff. So that's one of the reasons why I actually stated in the beginning of the video that you don't have to, you know, add too much allowance. If not, you whichever, but this is how it's looking. You saw how big it was before, and now it's looking this small. And initially it looked like, you know, it wasn't going to work, but you can see what has happened. So just take your time to cut out every loose thread, you know, that is hanging here and there. It will definitely look like this, and I'm really happy about the results. Okay, so you can see how smoking this is. It's actually smoking hot. Okay, so yeah, so right now I'm going to go ahead to start with the second one, that is the back part, and I'm just going to do exactly what I've done to this, you know. And you can see this fabric, you can see the way it's looking. You see, this is the difference between how it was before and how it is now. You can see that
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Gonna learn the consequence of being incompetent. Mental health is confidence, dreams and some honestness. I'm not here to save the day, that's for you to take away. I could play a million mind games, but instead I say something not illogical, something that is topical. Rub it on and watch it go, make yourself unstoppable. Dreams are irresponsible, but they're always possible. If you just believe, you could be so remarkable.
Thoughts in my head, a collage and they spread. I'll be great one day, going off of my meds. No, I'm not giving up, no, I'm not giving in. I will make it to the top, taking off in the wind. I gotta make it, I'm saving every day to taste it. I'm patient, but my mind, it can hardly take it. I'm chasing a dream that I've had for several ages of vacant. Modern kingdom for the taking.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you are behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains that last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Gonna learn the consequence of being incompetent. Mental health is confidence, dreams and some honestness. I'm not here to save the day, that's for you to take away. I could play a million mind games, but instead I say something not illogical, something that is topical. Rub it on and watch it go, make yourself unstoppable. Dreams are irresponsible, but they're always possible. If you just believe, you could be so remarkable.
Thoughts in my head, a collage and they spread. I'll be great one day, going off of my meds. No, I'm not giving up, no, I'm not giving in. I will make it to the top, taking off in the wind. I gotta make it, I'm saving every day to taste it. I'm patient, but my mind, it can hardly take it. I'm chasing a dream that I've had for several ages. A vacant, modern kingdom for the taking.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.